Hi everyone. Today's lesson is about inequalities. Inequalities. Okay. With inequalities, firstly, I just want to talk about how the answer should look like. Together. Your answer might look like this. Let me do this. Like this one. Or can look like this. Thirdly, your answer might look like this between A and B. Your answer might look like this, greater or equal to A. It can also look like this, less or equal to B, or these are the 6 possible ways your answer should look like. Nah? And please just know that A and B are element of real numbers. They just represent numerical terms. Nah? Okay. So whenever you read this statement, because this is a statement, it's a mathematical statement together. If you read it, you must read it as x is greater than what? Than the value of a. A can be any number which is here. And how can you represent this thing on a number line? Just draw a number line here. Then a will be here. Just represent it like this. Alright, together. I'm using an open circle because it doesn't have an equal sign like this guy over here. Alright, together. So whenever you read the statement as a sentence, you must read it as x is less than the value of b. Are we together? And how do you express this thing on a number line? Just draw a number line here, put b over here, and it's also an open circle, not a shaded one, because x is not equal to b. And then for this one, just know that let me erase here because I need space. I said here b is here, okay. And then for this one, you just need to say x is in between. Just say x is between the value of a and b. And how do you express that on a number line? Let me do it in orange. You must write a here, b here, and then represent it like this. All together. So these are the 3 possible ways to represent to read the statement. If you have x, this sign here is a greater than sign, this one is a greater than sign, and the other one is a less than sign. Are you together? And please note, a between sign is always made out of 2 less than signs. Okay, when you read this one, you can just say x is greater or equal to a. All together. And how do you express it on a number line? Just put A here. Now it's a shaded circle pointing to the right since it's greater than. Are you together? And this statement can also be read as, let me write in red, X is at least A. And then for this one, we just read it as X is less or equal to B. Are you together? And how do we represent it on a number line? Just put a B here, a shaded circle pointing to the left, since the sign is less than. And how do you know that there's an equal sign? This line here below the less than or greater than represents the equal sign. And how else can you read the statement that X is less or equal to B? You can just say X is at most B. All together. And then the last one, this one we don't say A is between because the critical values are included as well. No? You just say X is from A to B. And how do you represent it on a number line? Just put A here and B, both of them are included, like this. This is how you represent this thing on a number line. Yeah? Please remember that these the values of A and B are they just represent numerical terms. Are you together? Okay, now we know how to write an answer of an inequality and representing it on a number line if you want to. Are you together? Okay, where do we find the answer of the inequality? We find it from a number line. Are you together? A number line that has what? Critical values. Let me just start with 2. If you have 2 critical values, let's say we have a -3 here and a +2, and they are both included. The critical values are included. That means they must have a shaded circle. Are you together? If you have a plus here, a minus and a plus, and then the question would be like, okay, for which values of X is f of X greater than 0? Are you together? They wouldn't say f of X rather, but they would give you maybe an equation like this. When it's like this, they're saying to you, this guy here represent f of X rather. Are you together? So we'll have to factorize and do everything. Are you together? But we'll get there. I just want to start from the answer going upwards. If you have the number line, and then you are asked to find the values of X for which f of X is greater or equal to 0. Are you together? Greater or equal to 0, that means it's positive. Just check on your number line. Where do you see a positive sign? It's here and here. Are you together? And this thing goes from -infinity to infinity. Are you together? So I can say that from X, when X is less or equal to 3, from here going to the left, I can see there's a positive sign there. The sign only changes after crossing a critical value. Are you together? So another one, you'll say X is greater or equal to 2. Are you together? And then another question can be asked, and then they'll be like, for which values of X is f of X less or equal to 0. Less or equal to 0 means it's negative. Where do you see a negative on your number line? Let me write it in red. That's the only time I can see a negative on my number line. So I can simply say when x is between these 2 points, but they are also included. So by reading it properly, you must say x is anywhere from a -3 to a +2. Are we together? So sometimes you might have 3 critical values. 1, 2, 3. -3, 0, and 4. -3, 0, and 4. Sometimes you can have something like this, and maybe this time around you have a negative, plus, negative, and a plus. The signs will keep on alternating. You cannot have 2 negative signs following one another. And it will be negative and a positive, negative and a positive, always the time. Okay, maybe the question says it's the same thing. For which values of x is this? Maybe let's say this one is not included. These two, or this is the only one included, and this one is not included as well. Maybe of something like this now. For which values of x is f of x greater than 0? Is f of x greater than 0? How can we do that? I'll just go to my number line and check where do I see a positive number. It's here and here. Are you together? So how do I express it? I know that the x should be between a -3 and 0. However, the 0 should be included. Are you together? And where else do I see a positive? I can see a positive when x is greater than 4. Are you together? Or they can ask me to find the values of x when f of x is less than 0. Where do I see a negative on my number line? I can see it when x is less than -3, or here, or here, nah? Or I can also see it when x is between 0 and 4. However, the 0 is included. So you only need a number line to find the solutions. Are you together? Now let me show you how to find the number line. You will find the number line from a factorized equation, or a factorized equation. If you have something like this, x minus 3, x minus 2 greater or equal to 0. This question here says, for which values of x is this guy here? Let me circle it in black. This guy here greater or equal to 0. That means you're only looking for a positive answer. Are you together? So how can you do so? The first thing you must do after factorizing, you must write down your critical values. Nah? So x is 3, or x and x is 2. These are my 2 critical values, nah? And then thereafter just represent them on a number line. I have 2 and a 3 there. Are they included or not? Yes, they are included because there's an equal sign there. So I'll just do this and this. Okay, for me to know which sign must be here, it could be a negative or a positive, nah? But for me to know, there's something I need to check first. The numbers in front of x, do they have the same signs or not? If they do, that means I'll write a positive here. If they don't, I must write a negative there. Are you together? So now I have a positive 1 in front of x, another positive 1 in front of x. Both of them have the same sign. So I'll say plus here. Are you together? So after finding this sign, it will be easy to know the other signs here and there, because they will just keep on alternating. If I started with a plus, I must write a minus and a plus. Are we together? Why do I do that? Because I want to find my solution. So I was asked to find the values of x where this thing is positive, greater than 0. Where is greater than 0 on my number line? From here to the left and here to the right. So my answer will be just x is less than 2 or x is less than 3. Whew. Or x is greater than 3. Sometimes you do have a situation like this. 2 minus x plus 1 is just greater than 0 this time around. Let's use less than. I've been using greater. Less than 0. The first thing you must do, must write down your critical values. What are critical values? Critical values are the x values. That's when you substitute on one bracket, you'll get 0, and the other bracket will also get 0. Are you together? If I say x is equal to 2 on the first bracket, I'll have 2 minus 2, which is 0. So 2 is my critical value. And when x is equal to what? A negative 1. Here on the second bracket, I'll have negative 1 plus 1. It will give me 0. So negative 1 is my critical value. Didn't explain that here. Now, in this case, 3 is my critical value, because when I say 3 minus 3, I'll get a 0. Are you together? And then on the second bracket, 2 is my critical value, because when I say 2 minus 2, I'll get a 0. Okay, let's move on. Now, after finding my critical values, I must represent them on a number line. I have negative 1 and 2. Are they included or not? There's no equal sign there, so they're not included. Are you together? So look at this. How do I assign the signs here? Okay, here my x is negative and here it's positive. So the numbers in front, I have a negative 1 and a positive 1. They do not have the same signs. The other one is negative and the other is positive. If that's the case, I must just put a negative here. Then they'll just keep on alternating. The most important sign the most important thing is finding this sign. Are you together? After finding it, it's fine. They'll just keep on alternating. So yeah, I want the values of x for which this entire thing is negative. Less than 0 means negative. Are you together? Where do I see negative on my number line? Here and there. That's the only place I can see a negative. Therefore, I can say x is less than 1 or x is greater than 2. Are we together? And then yeah, so I know that if I have my number line, okay, for me to write the answer, I need a number line. So if I have a number line, I can find my solution. How do I find a number line? I must find critical values. For me to find critical values, I must factorize first. So now let's move from where it always starts. Let's say we have an equation like this: x squared plus x is greater or equal to 12. Treat this thing as an equation. No? Same thing applies. If you have fractions, we remove, sets we remove, brackets we remove. Are we together? So in this case, There are no fractions, sets, and brackets. So we'll go to the second step. The second step is putting everything to be in standard form. X squared plus x minus 12 is greater or equal to 0. Please guys, if you're struggling with the steps of solving x, go to my first lesson of the video. There I explain everything with regards to solving x, factorizing, everything. Please, those are the most important basics you must not miss rather. Okay, now I must factorize because everything is in standard form now. I want the factors of 12 that when I subtract will give me 1. Those factors are 4 and 3, and the bigger factor will always take the sign of the middle term out together. Then after factorizing, I can therefore find my critical values. I know that my critical value x is -4 or x is +3. Then I must just express my critical value on the number line. My critical value on the number line it's -4 and 3. Are they included or not? Yes, they are. Yes, they are included. Then we go. The number in front of x, both of them are +1, so they have the same sign. So I'll write a positive here, negative, and a positive. So that means on my question I was asked to find the values of x where this entire thing is greater than 0. Where is greater than 0 means positive, right? So positive is from 4 to the left and from 3 to the right. Are we together? So I can just simply say x is less or equal to -4, or x is greater or equal to 3. This is how we solve inequalities, guys. Let me do a few examples from my tutorial. I have 2x squared minus 3x is less than 0. I'm supposed to solve x by using inequalities. I don't have a constant term here, so I don't need to worry when I factorize. I just need to take out a common factor. What is common between these two terms? X is common. I'll be left with 2x minus 3 is less than 0. Now everything is factorized. I can write my critical values. My CVs, x is 0 and x is equal to 3 over 2. And then express on the number line, 0 is less than 3 over 2. Are they included or not? No, they are not included. The number in front of x here, let me indicate in orange. The number in front of x here is a +1, and here is a +2. They both have the same signs, so I will just write a plus here. After finding the first sign, it's easy for me to continue because the signs will just keep on alternating. If it's a plus followed by a minus and a plus, I want the values of x for which this guy is less than 0. Less than 0 means negative. Are you together? So where do I see a negative answer here? When x is between 0 and 3 over 2. Are we together? When x is between 0 and 3 over 2. Let's do another one. If we have let's do the sets first before I explain that other guy. Whenever we deal with sets, we must always remember to write restrictions. If I have x minus 1 less or equal to the square root of 7 minus 3x. For me to even continue, I must first write the restriction. My restriction, everything that is under a square root, for it to be real, it must be greater or equal to 0. Right, together. Then negative 3 is greater or equal to 7. Then x is negative 7. Now when it goes to the other side, that means x must be greater or equal to 7 over 3. Right, together. 7 over 3. So this is just my restriction, which I will use later on. For me to solve, the first thing I must do, I must remove the third. Square both sides. I'll say x squared minus 2x plus 1 is less than 7 minus 3x. Now there are no sets and there are no brackets and fractions. I can move to the next step. Put everything to the standard form. X squared minus 2x plus 3x. This will change the sign whenever it moves to the other side, and then I'll have plus 1 and then why didn't I write 1 rather? Plus 1 and then minus 7. It will change sign. Everything is on the left hand side and then 0 on the right hand side. Now I can continue. X squared minus x minus 6 is less than 0. So x and x, here the factors of 6 that when I subtract will give me 1. Those are 3 and 2. The bigger factor will take the sign of the middle term, and my critical values are x is equal to 3 or x is a negative 2. Go express the critical values on the number line. Negative 2, 3, included or not? They are not included. The number in front of x, both positives 1, so they have the same sign. Positive, negative, positive. So here I just need the values of x for which this guy is negative. Less than 0 means negative. So x is between minus 2 and 3. But I'm not yet done. I still need to consider my restriction. That means I must find the final solution that will accommodate my restriction. The final solution, I have negative 2 and 3. How do I represent this on the number line? Like this. And then my restriction said x is greater than 7 over 3. 7 over 3 is a number that is here. A number that is just below 3. Greater or equal to 7 over 3. Like this. So this is where I find my solution. Where I can see the most number of lines overlapping. So I can say x is between 7 over 3 and 3, but the 7 over 3 is included. Are we together? Okay, let's do the other one with surds. I have 1 minus x greater or equal to the square root of x squared plus 2x minus 3. For me to even go forward, I need to write down my restriction. For this inequality to be real, whatever that is under a square root must be greater or equal to 0. So I just need to say x squared plus 2x minus 3 is greater or equal to 0. Then I must factorize x minus plus 3 and x minus 1 greater or equal to 0. No? My restriction is like this: plus, negative, and plus included. So for my restriction, I know that x is less or equal to 3 or x is greater or equal to 1 for my restriction. Okay, so these are my solutions for my restriction. Then let's go back to solving the equation. We'll try to accommodate the restrictions after we've found our answer. For me to remove sets, I must square both sides. Here I'll have 1 minus 2x plus x squared is greater or equal to x squared plus 2x minus 3. Now I don't have sets, brackets, and fractions. I must put everything to be on standard form. I have x squared on this side, and I have a negative 2x and a positive 1 greater than 0. Okay, now I must bring the things that are on the right hand side, bring them to the left hand side. Né? I have an x squared, which would become a negative x squared. I have a positive 2x, which would become a negative. Already thinking of the answer. I have a negative 3, which would become a positive 3. All together. So in this case, the x squareds will cancel one another. Be left with negative 4x plus 4 is greater or equal to 0. That means negative 4x is greater or equal to negative 4. When I divide everything by a negative 4, whenever you divide by a negative number or multiply everything by a negative number, your sign of the inequality has to change. So I had a greater than sign, but now I'm having a less than sign because the sign of the inequality needs to change. So a negative 4 divided by a negative 4 is 1. Then I must just express my solution and my restriction on the number line. Where I have the most number of overlaps, that's where my final solution is. I have negative 3 and 1 here. The restriction says x is less than negative 3 or x is greater than 1. However, the solution that I came up with says x is just less than 1. So where do I find the most number of overlaps? From here, moving to the left, when x is less or equal to 3, or just here at this point, when x is equal to 1. Yes, it happens that whenever you deal with inequalities, you find an answer like this. I hope you guys understand. Stay tuned, guys. Follow me on TikTok, whereby I post like those little videos doing one equation. I'm just avoiding to have a lengthy video that will take over an hour. Follow me on TikTok. I will do fractions with inequalities as well. Stay tuned, guys. Subscribe, share, like, comment, all together. On TikTok, it's just Best Academy 2023. Yeah, follow me there. There I post like those little things whereby I do one sum a day. not a day, but this time around I think I must increase, maybe do 5 or 4 a day and post them. Yeah, I hope you guys are learning. I hope you guys are learning and applying everything that I'm trying to teach you. I know I cannot reach all of you, but those that I can reach, please guys, make this thing useful to you. Danko.